All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving straight into one of the most absolutely baffling internal investigations to hit the intelligence community in years. Get this, a former senior CI officer, someone with top secret clearance, stands accused of secretly stashing tens of millions of dollars right at his personal residence. And his excuse for having this massive, unexplainable hoard of wealth? He claimed it was simply for work-related expenses. Now, the sheer scale of these alleged expenses is almost incomprehensible. We are talking about $40 million. And this wasn't just, numbers sitting in some hidden offshore bank account. This was $40 million in physical gold, literally 303 individual gold bars, just allegedly sitting around in a suburban house, which is, as you can guess, definitely not a secure government facility. Just imagine the pure logistics of that. Walking out of the CIA with a gold bar in your pocket, and then having to do it 302 more times.
But the gold was really only part of the inventory. Investigators allegedly uncovered another $2 million in pure cash just lying around the property. It paints this almost cinematic picture of illicit wealth piled up in a suburban home. And of course, this raises some immediate, blaring alarms about the basic security protocols and oversight within the agency.
To top off the whole stash, investigators made a highly specific discovery: 35 luxury watches, mostly high-end Rolexes. We definitely aren't talking about standard-issue field gear here. It really forces the question, seriously, what is a government intelligence employee doing with a massive personal collection of Swiss timepieces?
This detail perfectly highlights the gap between Hollywood spy fantasies and gritty reality. When he was asked about these Rolexes, former CIA station chief Dan Hoffman joked, "James Bond always had a nice watch. I had a Casio." Real-world espionage is highly practical. Flashy luxury watches draw attention, which is the exact opposite of what a spy wants in the field. Real spies just do not hoard dozens of Rolexes. So if this isn't standard spy behavior, how did this massive hoard actually get discovered?
Well, you might think a $40 million breach would be uncovered by some dramatic, high-stakes counterintelligence sting, right? Incredibly, no. This unprecedented scandal was accidentally unraveled by a completely mundane human resources error. Investigators only got on this officer's radar because of a $70,000 discrepancy on his time card. A simple payroll issue is what pulled the thread that ended up exposing a $40 million hoard.
To really understand just how massive a red flag this is, we have to look at how the CIA actually handles field money. Internally, this is known as revolving funds. Officers typically carry a standard operational allowance of just a few $1,000s. That money is used for normal things, taking sources out to lunch, buying them dinner, or maybe paying a modest monthly stipend. So when the standard operating procedure is just a few $1,000s for dinner, a $40 million personal stash isn't just an anomaly, it is a literal siren going off.
Which leads us directly to an absolutely critical question. Who in the chain of command actually signed off on this? Former Station Chief Dan Hoffman pointed out that someone, or maybe even multiple people, had to actually approve budgets of this size. How does a single officer acquire staggering wealth without triggering an internal audit sooner? Honestly, it points directly to a catastrophic cascade of systemic failures.
And those oversight failures actually seem to trace all the way back to his initial hiring. During his background checks, this individual allegedly claimed he went to a specific school and served as a U.S. Air Force pilot, and neither of those things were true. The fact that these basic, easily verifiable lies somehow slipped through the cracks of the world's premier intelligence agency is just baffling. These are the exact types of details a standard background check is designed to catch immediately. It naturally makes you wonder if he even underwent rigorous security checks or polygraphs in the first place.
Adding to the whole confusion is his actual job title. He worked in the Directorate of Science and Technology. There is absolutely no indication he was ever trained to conduct clandestine operations. Meeting sources and managing foreign assets requires highly specialized training. He was firmly on the tech side, not the spy side. So his whole work-related expenses excuse? Yeah, it's highly suspect.
Plus, the payment method itself defies all operational logic. Think about it. If you are paying a foreign source, the standard payout is cash, simply because cash is virtually invisible. It melds perfectly into whatever else they are doing with their money. Using gold bars to pay sources makes zero sense. Gold is heavy, it's super obvious, and it is incredibly easy to track. From an actual intelligence perspective, the mechanics of this alleged operation just do not add up.
Because of these glaring inconsistencies, there is some heavy skepticism within the intelligence community regarding the claim that he was just one random guy acting entirely alone. The reality is that moving and approving a budget of this massive magnitude strongly implies a much wider issue, potentially involving others higher up in the chain of command. An operation of this financial size points toward a much more complex cover-up.
Former Station Chief Dan Hoffman really didn't mince words about this, calling it one of the most unimaginably horrific scandals. Because we have to remember, this isn't just a quirky true crime story about missing money or luxury watches. This is a story about national security, and the real-world geopolitical fallout here is severe.
The most immediate casualty here is global trust. Foreign sources spy on behalf of the United States at great personal risk to themselves. They do it because they trust the U.S. to protect them and the sensitive intelligence they are providing. When a massive security failure like this happens, it severely damages that trust, and that ultimately compromises the intelligence network that keeps the country safe. Without that trust, sources dry up, intelligence goes dark, and everybody is less safe. It literally calls the agency's basic competence into question on the world stage.
And dealing with an internal mess of this scale creates a dangerous zero-sum game. A gain in one area necessitates a loss in another. Untangling this horrific internal scandal is going to drain a massive amount of critical time and resources from the highest levels of CIA leadership and congressional oversight committees. When you are forced to spend massive resources investigating your own house, you naturally have fewer people watching the perimeter.
The real danger of that zero-sum game is the resulting blind spots. Every single hour the CIA director and Congress spend figuring out how 303 gold bars ended up in a suburban home is an hour not spent focusing on urgent, real-world threats. We're talking about Iran, terrorist networks, China, or Russia. The distraction itself becomes a major vulnerability.
Which leaves us with a deeply unsettling question to end on. If a simple $70,000 timecard error is all it took to accidentally expose a $40 million breach, what else is hiding in the agency's blind spots? What else hasn't been uncovered yet?